Okay, guys, good morning. This is my Sam Fawaz mouse clicking in the background video. Love you, Sam. So this is a new feature in Snagit 2021. I'm always trying to figure out cool things to do for us, right? And basically what I've done is this morning I've stepped through the installation and configuration of CDP using Beta 2. And I've captured screenshots all the way through the process. And what Snagit allows you to do is to bulk select a number of screenshots and ultimately create a video. So down at the bottom, and you guys can't see this, but it's the canvas or the library, if you will, of all of my screenshots. It purposely allows me to set the screen color of the background, and it captures the cursor when I mouse over the screenshots in the recording. So I can move my mouse if I want to point to something specifically, and you just saw my mouse move overlaying on the image. It's actually pretty slick. So I can also real time annotate these images. I did this a second ago and just started drawing these arrows, and I can choose the color of the arrows, and I made it the same color as the Veeam banner. So anyway, here's my example. As everybody's asking about this new technology and we're trying to figure out how to use these things, consider this. I could take a bunch of screenshots in minutes, spend a little bit of time to figure out what are the prerequisites or what needs to be done, record something real simple, similar to this, that doesn't require a lot of editing or a lot of conversation. Or in the spirit of Hannes's video out on the forums, it may not have any audio. It may just be the animated clicking through of the screenshots and pointing to the important information. But anyway, so I'll flip through a few of these screenshots. Hopefully you guys get the gist of what I'm after. And then I'm going to share this with you in Teams, and I'd love to get your feedback. So for purposes of a brand new installation, the first thing that we need to do, especially if we're going to do a demonstration or a beta of CDP, is to make sure that on our brand new VBR instance that we go in and add our virtual infrastructure. So I'm on the inventory tab down here, and virtual infrastructure is highlighted on the left-hand side, and I come over here and click on add server. Really cool little green arrow there. And when I go on, I now am presented with an option for either vSphere or Hyper-V. Clearly, we're doing vSphere in this example, so we're going to click on vSphere. And it's going to present us with two choices, either traditional vSphere or vCloud Director. With CDP, we're not supporting vCloud Director day one here, and we'll go ahead and continue on. Put in the name of our VCSA, go over here and add our single sign-on credentials. For purposes of my lab, it's administrator at vsphere.local. Once we've applied those credentials, we'll click on apply down at the bottom. It will prompt us to accept the untrusted certificate, and we'll do that by clicking on continue. And it will begin through the process of adding the VCSA. So the VCSA has now been successfully saved. We can actually see that it's visually showed up here on the left-hand side. And when we click on finish, now we'll move from the inventory tab down to our backup infrastructure. Again, this is just me playing with arrows, guys. So you can see that the VCSA is present here on the left-hand side. When you click on vCenter servers, it's also present here on the right-hand pane. So our next step is we're going to want to add the I/O filters into our vCenter environment. So if you come over here in either spot, but for purposes of my screenshots, you can right click on your VCSA, and when you do that, you'll get an option that gives you Manage I/O Filters. And if you select that, it's then going to show you the Veeam CDP filter management screen, where you would go in and select the clusters that you wish to enable the I/O filter on. I selected the two demo clusters that I set up for this video. It's going to prompt you if you want to see those again. You do have the option there on the bottom left-hand side to click on Show Clusters, and it will show you the two that you've selected. So I click on Yes, and it goes through this process. Very cool. The first thing that it does is it verifies prerequisites. Two things in order for the prerequisites to pass that I saw immediately that I did not have set up in my lab and I needed to go back and correct. The first one is that you must have a minimum of 16 gig worth of RAM assigned to your ESXi host. The second thing is you have to have the correct community supported acceptance level set on your ESXi host. It's set to partner supported by default. For purposes of the beta, that did not work. I needed to change it to community supported, and then I was able to proceed on and go through my installation. Okay, so you can see over here, I had selected 2 different ESX hosts, and as I show you what's happening on the vSphere side, you can see that there's 2 different tasks here as it's installing the IO filter on each of my ESXi hosts. It installs the agents on those hosts as well, lab demo ESX01 and ESX02. And when it completes successfully, green is good, right? This is what you see. This is the bottom half of this screen, just to kind of show you everything here that it says. If I go to the next screenshot, it's going to be the top half of this. Again, just sharing information and seeing if you think that's useful. We kind of finish this out and we click on finish. The next step is to go in and add the Veeam CDP proxy. So back down to the backup infrastructure tab here. Watch this. This is me drawing that arrow real time. Very cool, huh? And do that again. Whoop. It's now permanently in the image. And one more time right there. How about that? Okay. So backup infrastructure, backup proxies, right click, add Veeam CDP proxy. You get to choose the server that you want to install the proxy on. For purposes of this demo, I just installed it on the core VBR server that I already had. Checks for the existing service, asks you where you want to install the cache directory, step through the traffic rules, just a review of the information. Notice because this is being installed on a VBR server already that the transport already exists. It's only going to install the Veeam CDP component. You can see what that looks like, all the different things that it does there, and finish. Next thing that I did is I went to the backups. Now, once the IO filters are installed, you actually see this CDP proxy show up, which is right there. And you can go in and create a new CDP policy. I'm using just a very small, tiny VM for purposes of this particular set of screenshots. I go in and add, select that VM, continue to move on, select the DR side where I want it to be replicated to, which is the second host in the second cluster. This is all pretty standard. This screen brand new, right? From a CDP policy perspective, what do you want your RPO to be? These are all defaults, 15 seconds, 4 hours for short-term retention, 8 hours for long-term retention for an additional restore point to be created, and 7 restore points by default. I left application aware processing off because again, it's just a little bitty tiny Linux VM. And you get the option here to enable the policy that's checked automatically. So it goes through its process. It failed, and it failed on me because I had the VM powered on. So when you establish the CDP policy for the very first time, the virtual machine needs to be powered off. And it tells you, hey, please power off the source VM to continue the processing. So I did that. It completed, did its thing. It goes through a syncing process. When you go back in and check it, you can see all the various tasks that are showing up over on the vSphere side. A couple different screenshots there just to kind of show you guys what's happening. When I came back over here to check on it, it had gone through its initial sync, and then it tells me, hey, please power the source VM on to continue processing. Stepped back over to vSphere, powered on the Linux VM, it picked up and continued on. Now it got me to 100% SLA, 15 seconds from an RPO. This was pretty clean. After it did that, I went ahead and stepped through a failover. So just right click on the VM and chose failover now, just to kind of show you guys. I'm sorry, I'm clicking the wrong way, my bad. What that looks like. Again, nothing to do here, just click on next. I just typed in a quick little restore reason there. And you can see that it begins the actual failover process. Again, just trying to capture everything that's happening over here of the reconfiguration of the virtual machine while that's happening, and the failover completed successfully. So now you can see that the replica VM here is powered on. And it's in a status of failover. Again, nothing really any different than what we would expect during a normal failover, but just showing for completeness everything that's happening. So I go through the option here to fail back. I chose just fail back to the original VM. Let it automatically perform the switch. I love the fact that it can be scheduled or done manually. I think that's pretty cool. And you have the option here to automatically power on the VM after the restore. Otherwise, it's powered off, right? It's telling you, hey, the replica VM will be powered off. So when this finishes, ultimately, both of the VMs are powered off if you don't check that box. Goes through its process. Again, just trying to show you a little bit of what's happening over here. The two VMs that I'm using are nested. The ESXi VMs are nested. So that's possible why you got this error. It's just basically, it's like a concurrent action. It's trying to do something while it's in the process of powering off, I believe. But it did go back and correct itself. I had no manual intervention in order for that to finish. So it begins the switch back. It's replicating. It's kind of giving you a status there of what's happening. It finished successfully. Obviously a status up here of success. And you can see it's in now a failback mode. I committed the failback. You see it go through its, committing of the failback, kind of redundant. I did a permanent failover. Again, just trying to go through as many of these steps as I could to show you guys what's happening, and you can see that it failed over successfully. So that's what I got, guys. I mean, it seemed pretty cool. I like this capability in Snagit. Hopefully this was helpful. Apologize if this is long-winded. I know it's a little over 13 minutes, but just trying a new technique, wanted to get your feedback and share a little bit of what I learned. Happy Friday.